Welcome. My name is SD, and I'm going to be talking about the word nisa, which in English mainly means women, but also it means to postpone, to delay, and what's next coming or what's coming next. And that's I'm going to show you how the ancient scholars, so-called geniuses of Islam, how they twisted the word around and gave it a whole different meaning or constricted it to one one avenue, and based on that, the result was giving women a very very bad name and putting them and subjugate them to a second place based on how they translated what this word meant according to their own tradition and culture, what was to their benefits. And we're going to go through some verses and we're going to explain it, and you see what makes sense, the way the Quran sees it or the way this man-made religion sees it. We'll continue. Welcome. My name is Ali Tayyib SD, and I'm going to be talking today about the word women in the Quran, because that's the only source that I believe in 100% and trust. The problem is how human beings translate that into what people think, and the effects of of the wrong translation and not fitting it into real life, how it's supposed to be implemented. Uh, the whole purpose of this is to debunk or show the right meaning of it, because what's out there is just completely mixed up and insulting to the human intelligence. And I'm gonna go, even though I'm not gonna claim I'm a scholar or hold a high degree. I'm just your normal Joe, work, think. The only thing about me, like most of the people that I know, that they are not mentally enslaved to what the forefathers say, regardless if it's right or wrong, does not matter. They only follow logic. So what we're going to say here is that the word nisa, or what's commonly known as women, does not necessarily mean just that word or it constricts to it. It also means other things. It means postponing. It also means delay. And it also means, depends on the verse that you read, it also means, it could also include men. It also include men, because it means, it also, like I said, depends on the subject. It can mean women, it can mean men, it can mean postponement, it can be what's to come or the latest thing. And from there, we can explain this. You have the word male and female, for example, and then you have men and women. So in Arabic, we have men, we call them dhukur, and we have inath, we call them inath. Men, dhukur, females, inath. Now, and this is gender. This is gender. This is specifying what it is, male, female, as in organs. Now, the other wording is that we have rijal and nisa. And in English, same as saying men, women. Now, in Arabic, women, one woman, one female is imra. And then Arab, we have plural, we have single plural, on the single, double, and then we have plural. In English, you have single and plural. So in Arabic, you have imra'a, one, and then for double, imra'atan, and then for plural, they don't have a plural based on these two names that you could derive from it. So what they have is the word nisa. So you have imra'a, female, imra'atan, two females, and then you have nisa, which is not derived from the same word. It's a whole different word because there are some words in the Arabic language that do not have plurals based from that same original root. Uh, it's like saying in English, soldier, two soldiers, soldiers, but then comes in army. It flips into a whole different category. Let me just give you an example. Um, when we talk about the word, but they take it as a gender. They take the word that men, rijal, equals male, and they take uh, female, the untha, as a nisa as being female. But it's not like that. It's like in English, like when you have the Marines, you pass by any shop and he says, a few good men. That word men does not necessarily mean males. It could also include females because there are females in the Marines. Just for an example, the word in Arabic, rijal, people take it as synonymous with being male. But in Arabic, we have in the Quran, there are some words that the word rijal implies male and female. Just like in English, just like in America here, where you have females, uh, like when they're in a group, we hear the woman say, "Hey guys, hey guys, hey guys," even though they're females, but she's given the word guys. Or when they describe a woman as being tough as a man, or that's a real man, or that's a real dude, or you don't mess with her. It implies toughness. In Arabic, in the Quran, it doesn't specify that rijal also means man. Doesn't mean female. It just means specific adjective, like description. Is it descriptive of someone in that position? So so according to the Quran, you have ذكر أنثى, male, female, and then you have رجال and نساء. رجال and نساء. رجال, according to the Quran, simply means the one in charge. And then nisa means the one that follows. That means second in command or what comes late. So you have rijal as in that's the script, what the verse is saying. So you have rijal as mean the one who is in charge. And then you have nisa as the one that follows. The best way to explain it is to show you a verse. And we go over, we'll see, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So now we have this verse. I'm going to read it in Arabic. زين للناس والشهوات من النساء. This is the main word right here, which says women. It's not. And it says benin, sons, and that's not. And then the heaps and the stored up from gold and silver and horses, the branded, yes, and an cattle and tilted land. It's not tilted land, it's actually the income from it. ذلك, and that is the provision of life, the world, and what Allah has with him. Excellent quote. Now, the problem with the translation here, see, it says the enjoyment of worldly desires. And it says over here, women, and then children. Now, in Arabic, this is not it. See right here? Beautified. For what? For mankind. So here, he skips the translation because, see, most of these translators are not from Arabic descent. Therefore, Arabic is not their main tongue, not their mother tongue. So they take whatever the Arabs told them what it was. So now here, over here, it says beautified for the people, for mankind. Now, explain to me who is mankind. Mankind includes men, women, of course, of all types and shapes, and then all types of belief, big, small, large, ugly, beautiful, as everybody, all mankind, right here, beautified for mankind, the love of things they desire. Now, what are things they desire? You have the human body, the human being is built into two main sections: the essential, which is instincts, which is what we call the animal behavior. And then we have the human behavior. And the human behavior is what we desire. That means what we want out of pure conviction and thought and planning on what we make. Desire, the body desire, just settles down for whatever they could get. Just like animals. They don't demand cooked food. They don't demand clothes. They just settle with their instinct. They can eat raw meat, raw leaves, raw anything, and they mate and everything without any weddings or any certificates. Or they have children. They don't have houses or homes like we do. They don't have laws. They just settle down for what their instincts tell them, what they're programmed to do, and that is instinct. Human beings, on the other hand, they have shahwat, needs, desires, but they have rules and regulations for it. And that's what the shahwat is. Shahwat is different from, even though it's the same thing. You want, animals want, and humans want. But the difference is that when humans want something, they plan for it, they have rules, they have regulations, they have a process to go through. So shahwat is something that you want. So an animal will settle for a carcass or raw meat, a lion. But human beings, no. You want, let's say they want steak, they want mashed potatoes, they want gravy, they want on a plate, they want a fork and a spoon, they want a cup of wine or water. That's desire. That's something that you want that's over average, that's above average. That's called shahwat, desires. It's not instinct. Instinct, you settle for less, or the basics of it. But this is what God meant: beautified for the people, the things that they desire. Now, God is telling us, whoever reads it, that it was beautified. These things that he's going to mention are beautified. They're beautified for the people. Now, let's see what it is. God says, the women and the sons and the gold and the horses, the branded horses, and the cattle and the tilt of land and all that. And this is all provision of life. Now, here's a contradiction. You go into the Arabic uh, translation, like this guy did, he failed to mention that he is talking about worldly desires of people, because automatically you contradict with women and children. Because if God is telling us that the desires of all human mankind is women and children, he's taken out three-quarters of all human beings, of all the population on earth, and he's talking specifically to one group. Does that make any sense? That he's telling that in Arabic, God is saying beautified for mankind, the love of women and children. So who's he talking to? Who he has left? There's nobody left. There's nobody left in that group. When he says people, who are the people? Women and children. So we're talking about now the problem with this is when you say women, women, grown women, and then you have women that are young girls, and then you have the boys here, the sons. So you have the sons, and then when the sons grow up, they become men. And one time, these women were girls. So basically, he's telling everybody, you take, beware of yourselves. Beware of yourselves because you are the beautified for mankind. And that doesn't make any sense because men excluded themselves from there. And they just said that, well, he just means women. Women are the source of all evil. Because over here it says women, the enjoyment of worldly desires, women and children, pleasure gold. The rest here is fine. But when it comes to women and children, now the problem, and the second word is called benin, which is called the sons. And this is not it. Because in the Quran, the word sons does not mean literally, in the original meaning, does not mean children. Awlad means children, sons. But here, benin is just another word for saying, it's actually the word benin is derived from the word bina, to build, a building. Bina, binaya. That means it's a building. Or I'm gonna build a plan. Abni khutta. Oh, hada ibni, this is my son. It also means the same thing. Oh, I'm gonna build a house. I'm gonna build a family. That's the word benin. It does not mean you're gonna build a family, be a carpenter. No, it's just a metaphor of what you're gonna do. But the world children. So here they imply that the word benin means sons, but it's not. He means here the building. Now we're talking about the worldly desires of human mankind. So it doesn't make any sense that God will put the woman, he'll warn the people and talk about, and then he'll exclude from the people women and children and put them together with the gold and animals and the land. So you see how now they put the woman in a separate category, even though God says he's talking to all mankind, which include women and children from all walks of life. But now he's talking about the scholars. Now they exclude women, and they put, because they didn't know what that word meant, or um, they don't want to say the truth because they'll make women and them equal. They can't have it. But here, doesn't make any sense that they will put the women and children and the gold and the horses and the cattle and the tilt of the land all in the same category. So that makes what makes in the Arabic mind and the Islamic culture, what makes women second citizen, what makes them as slaves, what makes them as cattle, because of the translation of this verse. This is because this is the scholars' main uh, proof that God had settled women as being same as cattle. And that's the problem right there. It's not God's fault. God never said that. He never intended that. But it's the human mind that translates it into what they want. See, every culture was translated the way they see it. But let's make more sense of this. We'll make more sense of this easily. Now, if we go back to the Arabic dictionary, the word nisa is derived from the word nasi. Nasi means what's to come, postpone, and also means women. But if we go into here, even though this is one of the best websites I would see that translate the Arabic language, they will never have it. See, they have nasi as uh here. Second one. All right here. Nisa, the postponing you see right here. And then Nasi, this is the main rule right here. It means postponing. But it also is the main rule. But it also means it's the word Nisa is derived from that same root. Because in that culture, in the Arabic culture, you had men and then you had women. Just like any army, just like any head of office, head of state, you always have the president, and then you have the vice president. You have the general, and then you have the second in general, second in command. So in that culture, it was Rijal, Nisa, first, second. But with the role of the woman being degraded over the centuries, the, the word Rijal stuck to men and Nisa stuck to the female. Even though these words is a position, it's a descriptive, that means first in command, second in command, basically like that. But also the problem with it is that women don't have a plural from the original word, which is imra, female. Now, when we go back here, if we change this right here, the word nisa, if we change the word, we change it into something different, the way they're supposed to be, because you have human beings, mankind on one side, and then God is telling us what human beings are attracted to. So he's telling us nisa. So let's change it for a little bit. What's the number one? The number one on that list was is what all these are all number ones. What all human beings. This is what makes the world go around. This is what makes the world move. What is it? Not women, because women are part of mankind. So it must be something else. Something else like buildings and gold and branded horses and tilt, and so it must be something made, because all these are products that are made or managed by human beings. Human beings cannot be part of that as being the main objective of the verse. No, they're part of it. It's a part of our results, what man makes. So if it'll make a lot more sense if we say that an-nisa simply means, we'll just make it easy. It means the latest of things, because it means postponing, it means to delay, it means, it also means woman, but depends on what verse you're talking about. That's how you're gonna drive it. It depends on what the verse is, because the Arabs used to say, "Nasa'at al-mar'a, nasa'at al-laban," like the milk went sour, or the a woman is menstruating, or something like that. Anything that has the word delay in it. Now, what's the number one? What's the number one business in this world that makes everybody? What makes you get up in the morning? What makes me get up in the morning? What makes the world go around every day? See new newspapers, new cars, new magazines, new news, new everything. This is new. This new came late, came second. It's the last thing to come. Now, when you walk into a store or a fashion store, what do they tell you? This is the latest thing. This is the latest fashion, the latest edition. This is the latest. This late is new. And that's exactly what the word nisa means. That the number one attraction for all human being that's beautified, all human being, is the man-made products, handmade. Because why would you buy a 2022 model car when you have a 1990 or 2000 or 2005? Because it has something new. It's the latest thing to come. It has something new. Food expire, you get something new. Clothes get worn, you get something new. Something you don't even have to get it. Clothes have to be worn. It just has to be nice. And look at it because we always hear that everything's being retro. So you have models from the 60s that's expired 10 years ago. Now you have models that's from the 60s coming back in as new models. They're remodeling, remaking, reshifting, re-engineering the old stuff, and now they're making it new. So human mind always wants something new, and that's the latest thing. And this, God is saying around the world, this is the trading, the business, the latest of things, the latest of products, the latest phones. What makes anybody switch this phone to get a new one from an old phone because of the products, because of what it does. It's the latest thing. New phones, new clothes, new shoes, new doors, new houses, new everything. And that's what the word nisa is. That's what makes up the business. That's the number one that's beautified for the people. Now, Benin, what's the second most thing after you work, after you do all this? What do you do with it? You build on it. When you make money, you build on it. You buy a house, you buy property, you secure yourself. That's the first thing you do when you have money. So Benin is the plural of building. Binaya, binan, Benin. That's the plural of buildings. Benin. It also goes for children. It's like saying sons and boys. My sons means your physical, and my boys just means a boy. It does not. It could go somewhere else. It could mean something else. But that's the word boy. That's what it means. It means building. It means what you build, result of that. And then you have gold, and then you have, which is the man gold. Man, you're not gonna get gold by raw gold. It has to be in bars, has to be designed, it has to be the latest chains. But you buy it for security reasons. Now, and as a stash and extra cash because that was cash back then. Not like now, dollars, paper money. And then you have horses, branded horses, which now to translate to what? Cars, motorcycles, transportation, because that's what it is. It's the branded horses, name brands. You have Mercedes, Toyota, Fords, BMWs, Ferraris, all that. And that's what you, and then you have livestock. And what you do with livestock, that's money, that's food, that's how we eat. And these are the main things in life. And then you have the land. Over here it says the tilled land. The harth is that mean the land. It means the money, the income coming from the land. That's what it means. Al harth, the money that's coming in from the land, and that's what people. Agriculture is a big thing. Now these things are what are the provisions of life of the world, and God, excellent in the abode return. So this is one example of showing how mistranslations or because Arab men back then will no way will let women or even show women that they have a right or they are the same on the same footing as men. They will never do that. This is just one example, and I'm just trying to really skim over it, But I have so many examples. What was that? Well, I have so many examples. Oh, I know what I did. Well, I have so many examples that I'm gonna go through again. Now, this word means, like I said, in this verse, in this context, that's what it meant. It means the latest of things. Now, if I go to another verse, we're talking about now here, this word nisa'ahunna, anyone who's reading it is gonna say they're females. That does not mean they're females. Here it says There is now this verse, little background. This verse is talking about the women, the females. Who are the females allowed to be in front of from the male? So we have a woman, and God is saying that to be modest, these I'm going to give you a list of all the males that you can be in front of. And you could show yourself, like, as just regular human being, as being, modest. So God is saying there is no blame upon them uh, concerning their fathers and their sons and their brothers and the sons of their brothers, okay, and the sons of their sisters. So notice here, God is focusing on one type of gender, the male. He's telling the women in general, these are the males that it's okay for you to show yourself in front of. So there is no concern for them in their father and their children and their brothers and their nephews and their nephews, abna wanihinna, and abna and their nephews from their sisters. So abna akhawatihinna. So the focus here is on the males of these relatives, her father, sons, her brothers, and the sons of her brothers and the sons of her sisters. Now here comes the bomb. Wala nisa'uhunna. Now, in the translation, it says they're women. So how come the shift from all of a sudden from talking about that the woman cannot show herself in front of these males, and then all of a sudden, when the word nisa'uhunna is there, it switches it to being a female, because females is not an issue here. For the woman to show herself in front of females, it's not the issue, because women could always show themselves in front of women. But the concern here, God is pinpointing what type of what type of men that these females could show their face or be in front of, present, and who's present they can be with. So now here it says they're women. Wala malaka, and what they rightfully possess, and fear Allah. Now, here it doesn't make any sense. Does not make any sense at all, because God is talking about who the woman could show be in presence of from the male's variant, male's type, and he's saying their father and her children and her brothers and her sisters and their her sons, her brother's sons and her sister's sons. And then now, instead of what God is doing right now, is saying, instead of naming every single male from every possible relation that this female is going to have, he just says, what come after? And what come after? What's next? So you have the female level and her father and her brother and sister, right? And then he named her brother, her father's children, the brothers and sisters, and their children. So he's naming what comes after that, the next level down. What their sons, from the male and the female, from her brothers and sisters and her father's side. So he's naming. So instead of naming every single one of them, he put the word nisa'ahunna. Now here, nisa'ahunna does not mean women. It means what comes next, the next level down. But God used the word nisa'ahunna. Now this was a shock to the scholars, that how come God's going to call us women? Because in their mind it's stuck that nisa'ahunna, nisa means woman. But it does not. It's a descriptive. It means what comes next, the next level. So when God says, that means and the next and the next level. That means any males that's gonna come from these strains of males and females that's closely related to her, it's okay to show herself and be in presence of. Simple as that. But they couldn't take it, so they switched it. They switched the meaning of the verse from being a male, that it was concerning the male. Now all of a sudden, and it's okay. They say that it's okay for the woman to show herself in front of the woman. We already know that. We already know that because the verse clearly is is talking about what types of male is allowed to be in presence of. So this goes and ma malakat aymanuhunna, and what they rightfully possess. So that means back then the servants that she has or the slaves. But this whole thing needs a whole different show or talk, or because it's what you own. Now, presently, nobody has any slaves, but it's talking about what you own. Like if she has a business, if she's running a business, then it's okay to show up in front of her workers because she has to protect her property and manage her property. So that's what it means. But uh, the Arab mental saying that no, this is impossible because they usually degrade women through the Quran, through God's words. So this is a second one I'm trying to go through right here. Let me see if we have a third. Oh, let me now now on the verse. Now this verse is talking about women down here. ويسألونك عن المحيط قل هو أذى فاعتزلوا النساء في المحيط ولا تقربوهن حتى يطهرن فإذا تطهرن فأتوهن من حيث أمركم الله إن الله يحب التوابين يحب المطهرين. Now English verse here, they ask you, O prophet, about menstruation. Say beware of it, its harm. So keep away and do not have intercourse with your wives. Here, he's talking about women. Because nisa'ahunna, wa'tazilu nisa, and so keep away, isolate, isolate yourself from women, as well, not isolate as in, put her in a room or block her or jail or not. It just means do not have intercourse with her, because having intercourse with a woman while she's menstruated is harm. So now he's saying, but he says, and nisa, actually women over here translated says your wives, but it's actually, it doesn't say zawjatkum, it just says, or, but they assume that it's supposedly, which is the right, which is supposed to be women, but God says women. It doesn't say, but in the course of being the Quran, that's what it is. It's supposed to be women, the wives, but in general, it says, I'm talking about the word nisa. Here, God is using the word nisa, which now here in this verse is talking about women. You see, you have nisa, nisahin, and nisa in three different verses, but each verse is talking about something different. So but the Arabs, the scholars said, no, no, it can't be. This nisa is nisa. And this is just simply what it means. But that's how they corrupted the minds. That's how they corrupted the word of God. And and the problem with women, they could not dare to think, because most of them, even from back then till now, they weren't educated to go to school. And, of course, being subjugated to being uh, mentally brainwashed over the years in the house and in the school and anywhere in the mosque or anywhere they go, they started believing that, or they just settled for that until they start coming for the West and they see something different and they say, no, they're rebellion, and then there's the West that's corrupting them. No, they just basically getting their rights back. So now, this verse here, like I said, he's talking about female. And that's exactly what it means. So it depends. So based on this, you can see that God never really said that women are second class citizens or they are the same as cattle and animals, because the Arabs, for one reason, see, you are, what you and your see. It's not enough. It's not enough when you read a book and someone says, well, he wrote a book, and then you read it and you wonder why he said that thing. Why did he coined it that way? You always That's why in the back of every book that you read, there's always a little, like a biography or something about the author and where he lived, or wiki, like a wiki thing, like a wiki information. That in the background, that's going to tell you where he's from, how he thought, how he was raised, and where he studied, what college, university, and from there you can understand where that person is coming from, and that's how you get to know. That's how you get to know where he's coming from. So it doesn't mean that he's right. It doesn't mean he's wrong, but it could be up to an extent, and because he might get a couple of things wrong based on his upbringing, what he was taught, how he's learned, and everything. But that's basically what it was. So the background of these scholars was as this, that they were raised that women are second class. Women will never be the same as men. So they couldn't believe it when the verses came down after the prophet died. They said, okay, now here he is. Let's not going to give women more freedom than what they deserve. What other verses gave them? No way. I mean, before they would not inherit anything. So even though the Quran and the verses said the woman and the female get the same amount, but they said no. They mistranslated the verse on purpose, so the woman would get only half of the man. The woman would get only half of the man. They mistranslated these verses, and we're gonna go, and that's another subject. So right now, this is just like a touching basis, even though I'm going 40 minutes. Okay, uh, supposed to be like 10 minutes, but here I am. Um, and there's plenty more verses, and I just did this video on the whim. I wasn't even ready for it, but I just had to get it out of my chest though, and just go over it again, and maybe do a better one with some photos or more infographics. But basically, right now, this is what it is, and uh, well, this is not all the details that I have, but basically, uh, like I said, going back to the word nisa, uh, Arabs used to say, "Oh, postpone my credit, insitni daini," or nasi'a. And that's what and then and nisa was second to come. So the whole word, basically going over it, just means second coming, the second to come, the latest. The latest thing is always the newest. What's the latest news? It's the new news. And this is what God is talking about in the first verse, that he's talking about nisa right here, and he's not saying that woman, that nisa. Okay, now I found out how to pronounce it. So basically, like it is, this verse is the main verse that men always subdue women and brainwash them mentally, saying that this is God's word, but they don't tell them the truth. That Nisa here, God is, like you said in the English translation, the enjoyment of worldly desires. He did not translate exactly what the Quran says, because the Quran in Arabic is Zuyyina linnas, right here. If I go here, like the translation word for word, you see, notice this right here: beautified for mankind the love of many things they desire. But then down here, look, the enjoyment of the worldly desires. And then it skips to women and children, the same of here, women and children, because over here, he didn't know that, because this is new. This is a word by word translation, but this is not. This is what the Arabs inherit to. The most of them who did these translations were Pakistani and Indians and English, and they didn't know the Arabic was not their background, so they just take whatever they just believe them, like it's the second coming of the word of God. So this is what they and they took their word literally and they translated. That's why most of these translations just really messed up. Most of it, especially in keywords what concerns women or freedom. when it concerns women or freedom, especially those, it's it's totally messed up. We're gonna go through all that. So right now, uh, eh, yes, if you have any questions or just uh, any subject, I'm gonna go through all these subjects, but I'm talking about my main subject is the women right here in this word. So I'm going back to my main screen, and this is just a couple of verses, and I'm gonna go through it again, and hopefully I get this all mixed up. But this is um this is my channel, Quranomics. It's gonna be strictly in English. It's on YouTube, Quranomics, and my name is SD, aka SD. My name is Abdussalam Al Tayyib Qadi, but everybody knows me as SD because it's just easier to remember. And we'll see you again.